If life was someday proven to be a simulation, what glitch or anomaly could you point to as a major clue we'd missed? Why physics appears to operate under different rules depending on whether you are looking at very big things or very small things. If it is a simulation, they simply fake the big things to save processing power, which is why quantum physics doesn't fit neatly in our understanding of the universe and likely why we are detecting dark matter. The way stuff behaves differently based on whether or not it's observed also seems like the programmers are trying to hide how the source code works. To observe something is to interact with it, to interact with something is to change it. Just pointing this out as a lot of people think it actually has to do with a consciousness looking at something, but it's really not. It should totally be the interaction effect instead of the observer effect, emo. Here's how I see it: it's as if you're blind and trying to predict where a ball will land. The sound isn't enough as it soars through the air, so if you want to find it, you have to touch it in midair. But the second you touch it, it slows down, even if you barely graze it, and thus it changed when you observed it. In the worst case, you get hit by the ball, and you have absolutely no idea where it will land because you changed the trajectory entirely. Looking at something, our usual method of observation, only works because photons do this for us. They hit the object, and then hit our eyes. But when you try to hit a tiny object like a tiny particle with light or electrons and use that, it moves, like our hypothetical blind person trying to touch the baseball in midair without moving it. Or, in some cases, the light can't even hit it, because the particle is too small, meaning we can't see the particle. So we say that observing causes it to change, but that's a bit of a simplification. Edit. To those saying this is wrong, are you saying that literally our consciousness understanding something makes matter change? That sounds incorrect. This is the very first time I get it so clearly, thank you. When your pen gets lost as soon as it hits the floor, and then appears right there after some time. I dropped a pen once while doing homework back in high school. I was sitting on a bench in a grassy field that was not overgrown by any means. There wasn't anything around the bench. I spent an absurd amount of time looking for the pen before deciding it vanished. In college, I couldn't find my favorite lipstick. It usually lived on my dresser, which admittedly also had a bunch of other crap on it at that point. So I take everything off the dresser, item by item, and move it to my bed as I look for the missing tube of lipstick. It wasn't there. But everything back on the dresser, item by item, then left the room. Came back a little while later and the lipstick was sitting by itself right by the edge. This happened to me with a winter hat I couldn't find before work. I got so frustrated I was going to be late, I screamed. My roommate woke up and asked what was wrong. I told him I couldn't find my hat. He says, the one that's on the floor over there? And sure enough, it's sitting in the middle of an otherwise completely empty room. There is no way in hell I hadn't walked over that spot 20 times that morning, and there was no way in hell I could have missed it, because I could see it from where I was standing as soon as he pointed to it. Roommate wakes up to you screaming about the hat, realizes they forgot to put it back after borrowing it, discreetly tosses it on the middle of the floor and points, "This one?" Back in 5th grade I lost my clarinet for like 3 weeks. It was on the dining room table the entire time. Small edit because some people are saying my parents hid it or I don't know sold it to fuel an addiction or something. Nope. My mom was super supportive of me playing clarinet and I really am just a pro at losing things and forgetting about them. I'm just very oblivious and my mom had nothing to do with it. Most likely gnomes. Collect pens? Equals profit. That's just Annie's boobs. You got to check in the vents. C. The speed of light reads like a hotfix. Change notes for version 1.000000001. Late game players have been reporting a bug where objects appear to spawn before the spawn conditions have been met, causing erroneous results. Testing reveals that objects traveling at very high speeds cause an integer overflow on the time axis, resulting in unpredictable results and skyrocketing CPU usage. As a temporary fix, massless objects now have their velocity locked for call purposes. Objects with mass will require exponentially increasing energy to increase speed, hitting a hard wall at 3 by 108 meters per second. This means interstellar travel is functionally disabled. Will eventually be addressed in the Wormhole update, release TBA. For now, please stay away from any black holes. Those things are written on spaghetti code. We just hacked in infinite gravitational wells, so that anything that interacts with them and glitches out is hidden behind functional observability. We need to have meaningful code reviews, people. Hello. Please write more. Welp, yesterday while driving with my daughter in the car, she says, "Dad, I'm starting to feel that this whole human thing isn't real." So I guess that would be confirmed as my first hint. Wait, how old, roundabout, is she where she's already either having an existential crisis or contacting the developers? I had my first existential crisis at 7 years old at the dinner table. My poor parents. Every now and again turn to her with a blank stare and yell, "Wake up." Can't wake up. Wake me up inside. All those names of people in the news or running for different positions that just seem like the developers are messing with us. Like the one where a politician named Wiener got caught in a sex scandal sending pictures of his wiener to women? Next you'll tell us about the guy named Madoff who made off with people's money in a Ponzi scheme. Let's not forget the fastest runner in the world is named Bolt. Mark Webb directed 2 Spider-Man movies. Seriously. Someone could be running for Senate named Dick Berger and I probably wouldn't even flinch anymore. Edit so you know I had to check and make sure this wasn't an actual person in government. IT's not. But it turns out, he's an archaeologist with a doctorate instead. Web link. Still can't get over reality winner. Like, there must be more to this story in the future. At my job, I worked on a car belonging to someone named The Real Deal. In fairness, I think that was probably a fake name. Right? Nope. Had to have been Drill Deal. Alabama just elected Tommy Tuberville as their senator. Dude sounds like a mascot for a potato farm. Checking in, he was the head coach for one of the 2 major football universities in the state, Auburn. Which, as an agricultural school, does have potato farms. So you're right, is I guess what I'm saying. You could say the strict laws of physics that govern our reality. If we were in, say, a video game, we'd eventually start wondering why the rules seem absolutely rigid/mathematical. Maybe the speed of light is just the speed limit for transmitting information within the network of our simulation. Edit, a typo. Also, there seems to be a limited resolution due to Planck's constant. Our GPU must be effing insane though, our render distance is essentially infinite. It's taken 14 BN years to load the faraway objects though. Did it though? The system was just powered on last Thursday. Ah, I see you are a man of culture as well. Quantum physics as a whole feels like a huge development shortcut. Things only exist in a definitive state when they are interacted with, kind of like a GPU only rendering things when your character is looking at them. Web link. Don't forget Wheeler's delayed choice. Quantum transactions reconciled backwards in time. That's what made me believe even more. Came here to say this. From a development perspective, if you had to make a program that simulated billions upon billions upon billions of particles, then the first and most important optimization would be to not keep track of all of them all of the time. Coincidentally, this is exactly what we observe in our universe with quantum mechanics. The universe does not appear to keep track of all of the particles all of the time, and only tracks them when it needs to. This seems crazy from a reality standpoint and even bothered Einstein, but makes complete sense from a programming point of view. So our universe is optimized. Next step might be to make it scalable, so that every particle can't interact with every other particle too quickly. Some way to split the processing between servers. Maybe make a universal speed limit restricting how fast any information can be communicated. We'll call that c, the speed of light. So our universe is scalable. Last step might be to paper over the quirkiness and bugs that might develop between our optimization layer, particle tracking, and our more macro universe forces in the rare times those things interact. Don't want to break the entire simulation just because we don't know how these things should work together. Maybe just wrap the whole thing up in a bubble that doesn't let anything escape to pollute the rest of the simulation. We'll call it a black hole. Gravity forming around large objects is the simulation slowing down due to too much data processing in one place. Stop freaking me out here. I don't want to read this anymore, but I have to. Never even thought of that. Makes sense though. More particles interacting so slowed down compared to the rest of the universe. I totally agree with your first 2 points, but that black hole thing is a bit of a stretch. Whoever wrote trial_universe_007.exe wouldn't have problems that big to fix. Just because we don't understand it, they certainly do. Depends on if they were coding to a deadline or not. As a web developer, never have I been so insulted by something I 100% agree with. I love the idea that the universe isn't a simulation run by an advanced civilization as a big, evil project but just a stressed out college student coding a universe on her falling apart laptop every night till 3 a.m. I would read that short story. The speed of light is the universal refresh rate, the Planck length is the universal pixel. Quantum superposition is for data compression. It's just lazy evaluation. Totally understandable. I wouldn't want to have to simulate an entire universe if no one is looking at it. The game originally only contained a small region in Africa, and the map was expanded with higher LV zones as the player base rose. Alternative ecosystems were added soon after to shake up an otherwise stale meta. Populations eventually required splitting into 2 supercontinent servers, but these were merged when the background tech came up to snuff. Still a highly controversial move, particularly among communities that were on the lower pop server before the merge. What's really impressive, though, was the development roadmap. They added stars pretty early on, and players spent millennia hyping up what kind of future content they implied. Extremely high-level teams are only just now getting access to this content. Deja rev. It's similar to déjà vu, but it's where you've dreamed of a future moment. It's weird, and for me it hasn't been useful. But one moment I'll be experiencing life and know what's going to happen, because I saw it in a dream. I'll even know about my futile attempts to change it from the dream. It only lasts a couple minutes at most and is at mundane moments, but it is freaky. I have had that. For me, the dreams are vague and slightly unformed, and then when the thing happens IRL, it all snaps into place. Creepy. And I thought I'm the only one with this. I can't really explain it to other people, and when I did they thought it was just déjà vu. Same here. It's damn near useless up until you realize you're in it, and by the time you do, it's already over. And the only proof that you have to yourself is how you knew you were in it while in it. This has definitely happened to me. A few times I've known in advance that it would happen. Usually the dream is just something so mundane, but something isn't recognizable and it sticks out as unfamiliar, so I remember it when I wake up, and then months or years later I'll be in that moment like, oh, here it is, this makes sense now. Edit. Oh wow, thank you for the gold, yellow heart. Yes. Mine is typically average conversation with someone that ends up happening a few days/weeks later. Something mundane, but it strikes me and I'm like, I knew you were going to say that. Super weird. What the F? This happens to other people? I thought I was having the most boring premonitions in history. I didn't know there was a name for it. Happens to me also, and normally it is a fleeting moment with absolutely no significance, but I remember that exact same sequence from my dream. This happened to me. I had a very vivid dream where I spoke and interacted with people. Then a few days later the dream sequence played out IRL. Wasn't just a regular hey how was your weekend interaction, it was a very unique and specific setting, plus, conversation. When I was young, say, 8 to 9 years old, I had a very vivid dream of a house with orange shag carpet, a big basement, a swimming pool in the back, and a large deck. It had all our stuff in it. When I was 11 years old we moved into this house. What's even stranger, before I even mentioned this weird phenomenon, my little brother who was 8 at the time said he dreamed of this house. My parents kind of laugh it off, but it kind of shook me. Kids say funny things sometimes, but this felt so real, very well could be just a false memory, but it's odd we both had the same thing happen. I remembered that dream very vividly. About a year ago I had a dream that I got a new job at an office. I'm blue collar. It only had 5 to 6 people in it, all people I actually know. We were all getting ready for our first day, and this lady who I did not recognize, our boss, pulled me aside and spoke to me. Not like a weird dream where your mind is projecting images and people talking, you usually don't pay attention to. She spoke to me. Straight eye contact. How often do you make eye contact in a dream? She said to me, I'm paraphrasing, if you see someone in a dream you know, or a celebrity, she mentioned dead rappers as an example. Oddly enough, you need to pay attention to them in real life. She didn't say specifically why, but she was 100% serious. Was very, very vivid, and I woke up pretty shocked. Before cell phones, I accidentally misdialed a person's number and got them at someone else's house with the wrong number being 3 numbers off. Edit. Thanks for the awards. I talked to her for about a minute and she asked me how I got her uncle's number. I said I didn't have his number, I dialed hers. We both fell deadly silent, thinking about how bizarre it was. Hello, David speaking. Oh, sorry, I must have misdialed. I was trying to get hold of my mom. Oh no, brother, she's here. Hold on, and let me go get her out of bed. Fatality. I can do you one better. Grandpa's phone number, 3030XX67 Great Uncle 1, 3030XX65 Great Uncle 2, 3030XX66. They got their numbers years apart and got them randomly generated. Yes, the X's are the same, I censored for obvious reasons. Cool. My brother married a friend of mine from high school, and afterwards we found out our social security numbers are 3 apart. When I was in HS, I made up a string of 4 random numbers to use as my PIN for my first bank account. I met my husband well over a decade later, on the other side of the country. It's the same exact number as the last 4 digits of his SS number. That crap is so weird. My last name is Noble, related to an amusement park in Pennsylvania named Knobles. I bought a bookmark there when I was a kid, which had Knobles on it. The artist's name was Royce. My wife's name was Royce. So both our last names are on this bookmark I got decades ago. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.